Hey, my name's Kenzie, and I'm wicked enthused today because I'm about to take home the first place trophy for this year's Lift and Carry Triathlon Challenge. And I can't wait to see my ex-boyfriend's big, fat, jealous face when I do. Dash's face wasn't fat at all, actually. He was quite chiseled. Before I became buff myself, I thought he was everything I wanted in a boyfriend. But Dash got so competitive and arrogant. I couldn't stand to be with him, and I broke things off. Before you judge, listen to what happened. The Lift and Carry Triathlon Challenge in Clackamas County is going strong in its 5th straight year. This is Lloyd. He's my boyfriend now. Most people haven't the foggiest when I tell them about it, so I'm used to explaining. It's like a typical triathlon in that you have to run, swim, and bike. And while you're doing this, you have to carry your partner. When you get to the end of each part, you have to squat your partner 12 times. We have a website and a few videos up online, but mostly it's the locals who take part in this lift and carry tradition. I'm a music programmer at K98.4 Unifun. To me, life without music was like life without a heartbeat. When my friend Chelsea asked me to volunteer for the annual competition and help put a playlist together, I was all about it. And it was there I first met Dash. He wanted to compete, but he didn't have a partner. The way he looked at me when he said partner made me catch my breath. And when he spoke, he talked like a champion. We started dating soon after, and then we began training together for the Lift and Carry Challenge. Since Dash was so muscle-bound, he was going to be the lifter, and I was going to be the liftee. Dash wanted me at a particular weight. If I said anything or protested, Dash would remind me again about the victory that was before us. He sounded like a Viking general leading his men into battle. At first, it was charming, but he got so intense about it, he kind of freaked me out. I watched him do all these workouts to keep himself strong, and I wanted to sculpt my body too. But Dash said that I couldn't do that because I had to keep my frame light for the competition. I went home that night sort of irritated at Dash. It made sense that he wanted to keep me light, so it would be easier for him to lift and carry me through the triathlon. And I saw how dedicated he was with his regiment. The rules on the site said there were 2 different races. One where a single carrier lifts their partner through the whole race, and a second where partners switch roles halfway through. I figured if I trained, Dash and I could dominate that category. But he flicked my idea away like a gnat on his shoulders. At the competition itself, Dash would say something passive-aggressive, or just plain aggressive-aggressive if I shifted my weight wrong or something. It's a weird thing to say, but I hated winning with Dash. It just fed his arrogance to carry around that first place trophy. And I think he forgot it was just a game. It felt great when Dash would carry me before, but now his touch was so cold. I started working out, and he didn't like it. He was concerned with keeping my mass down so we could defend our title. I told him that I didn't want to just be his sidekick, but he had this whole my way or the highway attitude going on. So stubborn. He wouldn't even listen to the workout playlist that I made for us. He said metal music was the only music to work out to. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Even after we broke up, Dash found a way to get under my skin. I grew determined to build my body the way I wanted, regardless of whether Dash or anybody liked it. Of course, he'd come by the gym just to say something snide. One day, before I even had a partner, I challenged Dash. I don't know what got over me that day. Maybe it was the way he was mocking me, or maybe I had something to prove. "Don't break a nail," he said. I told him he wasn't going to be number 1 for long, and I proclaimed that he was going to eat my dust in next year's triathlon. But I'll admit, it was lonelier working out by myself. And I didn't even know what I was going to do about a partner. I heard that Dash was meeting girls on some new dating app. And I went on there to check out the competition. Dash seemed so full of himself on his profile, I just couldn't wait to see his face when I breezed past him on the finish line. But I also met my own new partner on the app. Most of the guys I met online reminded me of Dash and gave me flack about my muscle growth. The truth was, these guys were just intimidated. I didn't pay them much mind. Lloyd was different, though. He liked that I did my own thing, and we started seeing each other. When we met in person, I thought I found the perfect partner. He was pretty lanky and didn't seem like he weighed an awful lot. I asked him if he had heard of the lift and carry challenge. When I picked him up, he kept laughing like he was being tickled. And I said he would have to settle down if we were going to win the triathlon. Lloyd told me that it felt good to be in my arms when I carried him, and he felt really close to me. We began training together in the evenings and on weekends. Finally, I found somebody who let me be me. Somebody who wasn't intimidated by muscles. Somebody to be my partner. I put together the most epic competition playlist of all time. We worked out to victory trumpets and face-melting guitar solos. It felt like I was living in an 80s workout montage. I swam in the mornings, rode my bike to work, and ran in the evenings. And all the time, Lloyd was there to put a little extra weight on my shoulders. It got to the point that I didn't do a push-up without him on my back. I was growing stronger with each day, and so was my love for Lloyd. I never knew that Lloyd didn't quite feel the same way, though. I found out when I was squatting him one evening. There were some guys laughing at us, and Lloyd got preoccupied with them. I told him not to pay them any mind, but he was so distracted. He knocked me off balance, which really set them off. Lloyd went to go talk to them, even though I said to ignore them. He was gone a long time, and I was wondering what in the world they could be talking about. The competition was just days away, and we didn't have time to let these naysayers hold us back. So I shouted to Lloyd to get back and get on my shoulders. And when he didn't listen, I got even more irritated and went over to see what the holdup was. But when I got there, they started laughing even harder and calling me his muscle girlfriend. I was about to show these guys what my muscles could do, but then he mentioned Lloyd's name, and I realized that these guys were Lloyd's friends. I kinda got quiet, and Lloyd said he was tired and wanted to go home. I kept calling him that night, and when he finally answered the phone, he said that he was okay with whatever they thought about him. But I just didn't think about anything or anybody but winning. Lloyd didn't want to feel like some backpack that I carried around on my way to victory, and he said he needed to take some time, and he'd call me when he felt better. I was losing my partner and my boyfriend in one fell swoop. I needed him to defeat Dash, but he reminded me a little bit of myself before. I didn't want to be anybody's sidekick either. For some reason, I couldn't help but think of that old 60s song, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'? You know, the one that Tom Cruise sings in Top Gun. Yeah, that's all I could hear spinning around in my head. It was the day of the competition, and part of me was really excited, but the other part of me was nervous. Would Lloyd show up? I hadn't heard from him since our fight, and he wasn't answering my texts. I was about to give up when I saw him near the registration booth. I scooped him up in a hug and told him how happy I was he was here. He had a serious look in his eyes, and he explained that he was here as my friend, not my boyfriend. It was then that I realized how far I'd taken things. I was no different than Dash. My desire to win was hurting my love life. If I really wanted to win, I would have to play a really different game. Luckily, I knew what to do. I don't want you here as my friend. I want you here as my partner, I told Lloyd. His face lit up. You do? He asked. Suddenly, I didn't care about any trophy or what Dash thought of me. I signed up for the couple race where Lloyd and I would trade off who was carrying whom. If you're looking for that big victory finish, you came to the wrong place because Lloyd and I got last frickin' place. Dead last, if you can believe that. We even fell in the mud, but we had a blast. I gotta say, losing with Lloyd was a lot more fun than winning with Dash. Turned out he got second place, but he couldn't even appreciate it. Instead of celebrating, he and his new partner argued about whose fault it was they didn't win. If there's one thing I learned, it's that adversity and loss makes a man wise. Look, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with winning or competition, but it's not the only game in town. The sky's the limit, and there's always next year. Who knows, maybe I can get Lloyd to pick up a barbell, and we'll be back to lift and carry another day. Are you a competitive person? tell us about it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.